Live from WSLS, this is 10 News at Noon, working for you.
A hotly contested debate over immigration.
We are enforcing the laws as they exist on the books.
This has been a plan, and they're implementing the plan, they're enforcing the plan, and it's wrong.
How President Trump plans to address the family separations. A fight for change continues.
Not anti-gun, we're just anti-getting shot.
The latest stop on the March for Our Lives tour. And a blanket of heat covering Southwest Virginia. What you need to know to keep you and your pets safe. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jessica Jewell.
And I'm Jonathan Kegas.
Same story, different day.
Yeah.
It is sweltering outside.
It's very, very hot. We have the heat indices around 100, if not even a couple of notches above that in spots. And we have to wait a few more days until we talk about any kind of cooler air sliding in. Look at this. The lunch hour now, the heat index in Roanoke 92. We've hit the century mark now in Smith Mountain Lake, feeling more like 102 degrees. 98 is how it feels outside in Danville, feeling more like 96 in South Boston, doing a little bit better. It's all relative in Blacksburg, feeling more like 89, 83 degrees, the current heat index for us in Hillsville. Over the next several hours, again, we're going to jump back up into the upper 90s to low 100s. That's how it's going to feel outside. Currently, right now, most of us are clear. We were talking earlier this morning on Virginia Today that the opportunity for a few scattered storms would be with us, mainly in the highlands. Trying to get a few going as we speak. That coverage will grow a little bit as we get towards the second half of the afternoon and evening. Most of us are dry today, especially the further south you are, south of 460 especially. We'll talk much more about the storm threat over the next couple of days and when this heat wave finally breaks. Coming up in about 10 minutes, Jessica.
Yeah, try to stay out of that heat and stay hydrated if you do have to be in it. But remember, you aren't the only one prone to the dangers of scorching heat. You need to take steps to keep your pets safe, too. The Martinsville-Henry County SPCA urges pet owners to provide plenty of fresh water and shade for animals. If it's too hot for you to go outside, it's probably too hot for your pets. Bring them inside during the hottest parts of the day. Make sure you don't leave your animal in a parked car. They can die from heat stroke if it gets too hot. And finally, do not exercise with your pet in peak heat. Instead, take them on a jog with you early in the morning or later in the evening. With warmer weather hanging around, we're seeing a drop in the number of house fires, but just because they're less common during the summer doesn't mean they're no longer a hazard. That's why safety experts encourage everyone to check their fire alarms once a month. Just push the button and listen for a beep. Smoke alarms typically have a 10-year lifespan. When it comes to determining where to install those smoke alarms, experts say the more, the better.
And I want you at minimum to have one on every level of your home. And I really want people to sleep with their doors closed. And I know sometimes that's easier said than done, especially when you have small kids, but sleeping with your door closed actually gives you a lot of protection if there was a fire that started in your house.
Bradbury also suggests installing smoke alarms in each bedroom and in the hallway outside of bedrooms. We will, of course, continue tracking this heat wave and how it impacts you when we're not on air. Stay up to date with the latest forecast by downloading our 10 News and Storm Team 10 mobile apps. You can also visit our website, WSLS.com. New at noon, the Wise County Sheriff's Office needs your help finding a wanted man. The suspect is facing several charges, including attempt to distribute crystal meth. This is 24-year-old Lewis Hickman III. Deputies say he's also wanted in Lee County for obstruction of justice. If you have any information on where he might be, call police. The Henry County Sheriff's Office is searching for a man accused of shooting a woman. This is 41-year-old Donrell Brucker. He allegedly harmed 25-year-old LaVonna Giles. Deputies believe the incident started when neighbors heard the two arguing, followed by gunshots. They say Giles was shot in the leg and taken to a nearby hospital. If you have any information on where Rucker is, contact the Sheriff's Office. New video and 911 calls shed light on why two Danville police officers will not face charges for shooting and killing a man. This surveillance video shows 25-year-old Juan Jones assaulting his girlfriend in April. Just 20 minutes later, Jones was shot and killed as officers tried to arrest him for the assault. 911 calls from his girlfriend describe his actions. Yesterday, Danville's Commonwealth attorney announced he will not bring charges to the officers involved. Coming together to remember the life of a homicide victim. Family and friends will gather today for Miranda Trump's visitation. She was tragically killed along with Cole Kennedy and Brandon Deagle on Bent Mountain last week. Trump's visitation will be held at Oakey's funeral home on Brambleton at 4 this afternoon. Her memorial service will happen tomorrow morning at Colonial Presbyterian Church. The road to change continues for Parkland school survivors, this time making a stop in Kansas. The students were met with a warm reception when their tour bus pulled into the Kansas City yesterday. Local high schoolers shared a stage with the shooting survivors and embraced their fight for change. Kansas City's mayor watched quietly as those in attendance rallied to make their voices heard.
Let's candidates know that we're here, we're going to change things.
Saying raising awareness, I'm past that.
It's time for this to stop. I have rights too.
The next stop for the Parkland students is Omaha, Nebraska. And here in Southwest Virginia, several law enforcement agencies and school resource officers are at Liberty University for active shooter training right now. We'll have more on what officers are learning in this session starting tonight at 5 in our 90 minutes of news. Happening today, celebrating the abolition of slavery and the end of the Civil War. Today is Juneteenth. Several celebrations have already been held in our area. To commemorate the day, City Council in Charleston, South Carolina will consider an apology resolution. It would recognize, denounce, and apologize for the city's role in the slave trade. This meeting will be held at City Hall, which was built by slaves. The National Park Service says about 40% of African slaves entered the country through Charleston's auction slave market. New at noon, the U.S. is expected to pull itself from the United Nations Human Rights Council. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley previously warned the move would come if certain reforms didn't happen. A senior U.S. official says the looming withdrawal is because of anti-Israel bias. The move would follow months of talks between the U.S. and UN member states. They were discussing a change to the council's agenda. Several organizations have sent a letter to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo asking him to hold off from making the move. Taking a look at stocks on Wall Street today, fears of a trade war are rising as the Dow is down more than 300 points. This drop is putting it in negative territory for the year. The Dow is on pace for its 6th straight decline. This comes as President Trump threatened to impose even more tariffs on Chinese goods if Beijing retaliated. We're following breaking news out of Capitol Hill. Republicans are inching closer to a major immigration bill. The new legislation will keep detained families together. The bill would also fund President Trump's border wall. DACA recipients would also be provided a path to citizenship. A vote on the new bill is expected sometime this week. 10 News will be working for you to bring you the latest on the legislation once it's released. In news around the Commonwealth, as sea levels rise, Virginia property values go down. That's according to a new study from the Union of Concerned Scientists. Researchers found hundreds of thousands of homes are at risk of chronic flooding in the coming decades. They say more than 9,000 homes in Virginia will be impacted by flooding by the year 2045. Researchers also say investors are not aware of the potential financial losses they could be facing. They believe property values in most coastal real estate markets don't reflect the risk. New at noon, 2 new members are coming to the Virginia Tech Board of Visitors. Governor Ralph Northam has appointed Edward Bain and Preston White to the board. Bain is a Virginia Tech graduate from 1995. He majored in electrical engineering. He used his degree to become the senior VP for distribution for Dominion Energy's Power Delivery Group. White is also a Hokie alum. He received his bachelor's in building construction in 1963. Just 3 years later, he founded the Century of Concrete. Northam says he's pleased to welcome the 2 on board. In health headlines, chronic stress could be impacting your immune system. That's according to a new study from the University of Iceland. Researchers followed more than 100,000 patients diagnosed with PTSD and other stress-related disorders. They had a higher risk of developing autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and Crohn's disease. Toddlers with over-controlling parents may face problems in school as they get older. That's according to a new study from the University of Minnesota. Researchers studied how moms and their children interacted during playtime, then tracked the children for 8 years. Kids who were always told what to play with and how to play with it had more emotional and behavioral problems by the age of 5. As those kids got older, they were more likely to act out in school and have trouble making friends. Finding the money for a down payment can be one of the most difficult parts of home buying. The assistance programs that can help drop the prices for you. But first, here's a live look at downtown Roanoke from our Carilion Skycam. You can just see how hot it is out there with all that haze. Storm Team 10 meteorologist Jonathan Kegas is back to tell us when we're going to get some relief coming up.
Closed captioning provides